In its heyday, the London and Northwestern Railway Company was the largest railway company in the British Isles. Its network stretched from Euston in London to Liverpool, Manchester and Carlisle in the northwest, across the Pennines to Yorkshire and into North and South Wales, and via Holyhead to Northern Ireland. In 1900, the LNWR, as it became better known, owned 3,050 locomotives, 9,500 carriages, 74,900 wagons, 5,500 horses, 6,200 carts, all to operate 2,920 miles of railway track. In 1911, it employed some 86,000 people in a variety of jobs. Not just the obvious ones of a driver, fireman and guard, but jobs such as junior messengers, shunting horse drivers, lamplads, stablemen, horsekeepers. In all, it's been estimated that over its 75-year life as an independent railway, the LNWR employed approximately 250,000 people. Regrettably, the records of hourly paid personnel were kept locally, and after approximately 1905 were no longer kept in ledgers but on individual cards. Therefore, as many stations, sheds and goods yards closed during the 1950s and 60s, most of these records were thrown onto a tip. However, the odd ledger has been saved, which together with other records can assist the family historian. We are very fortunate to possess at the Society's Study Centre 2 impressive professional scanners. One is a 42-inch HD colour rotary scanner for plans and drawings, and the other is an A2 Plus book scanner. Whilst the rotary scanner has to date been the most useful in scanning drawings and plans, up to 30 feet long in a few instances, it's the book scanner which has had the most impact on our ability to digitise our document archive. We are now in the process of scanning our extensive collection of documents in order to make them more accessible to researchers as well as to conserve them. Whilst we are still at the very early stages of this effort, we have already made many documents available, including the LNWR Gazette editions from 1912 to 22, as well as its later LMS version from 1923 to 1947. This is a slow process simply because just one case-bound item can consist of 100 pages.
The Society has acquired a number of documents over the years and has an impressive catalogue of documents, drawings, plans and photographs. Cataloguing new acquisitions and donated items can be very time-consuming, and among the backlog we were delighted to find, within an extensive collection acquired from Doncaster Grammar School, not only a huge number of forms used on the railway, from goods transit notes to superannuation records, but a very large volume of staff records from the engine shed at Rugby, dating from the 1850s. These shed books are a fantastic resource, as records of staff associated with locomotives are mostly incomplete, as Mike explained earlier. What it contains, as well as those for Rugby, are staff records from the engine shed at Warwick, also known as Milverton Shed, in the Quarry Street area of Warwick. This volume immediately became a priority for digitisation, not only to conserve it, as it's quite fragile, but also to open up access to what it contains. There is a separate page for each individual, but what is fascinating is a section of each record where offences and awards were noted. These can fill out the bare dates, locations and pay rates to make each person come alive. Sadly not in this one, but in the Aston Shed book, the various misdemeanours noted include a young man who set off the accident warning explosives, the percussion caps, just for fun at New Year, and was of course dismissed. He was later re-employed when he'd grown up a bit. Whilst browsing in the Rugby Shed book, and identifying that it contained the staff of both Rugby and Warwick engine sheds, we were intrigued by the fact that there were 7 women working here in the Warwick engine shed during the First World War. They don't seem to have been there all at the same time, but as a rule engine cleaners were men, as it was part of the footplate career structure. These ladies we felt warranted investigation, and we isolated their personnel record sheets from the volume to look at them more closely and perhaps to investigate their lives. When Britain was put into lockdown, it soon became clear that family and local history groups would not be able to meet together for quite a while, and to keep everyone in touch became very important. I'd started a weekly family history newsletter and was intrigued by the 7 ladies who joined the LNWR as engine cleaners, a job previously reserved for men, in 1917 as part of the war effort. I decided to harness the interest and research skills of my family historian readers and issued a challenge via the newsletter to them all to find out what they could about these local ladies. This research is still ongoing and is bringing up a few surprises. For instance, they were not all young and single. Some came from railway families and most lived nearby. Traditionally, an engine cleaner was one of the rungs on the ladder to the prestigious job of engine driver. As such, women were ordinarily barred from it. The shortage of manpower during the First World War, as railway men had joined up, meant that they now needed women to do this job. The term engine cleaner is a little confusing in these days when we associate only the part that drives the car, for instance, as an engine. In terms of the railway, they mean the locomotive, the part of the train which pulled the carriages. Locomotive or engine drivers learnt on the job, starting as engine cleaners or as boys as engine divers, progressing to the hard-working firemen who accompanied, as one writer put it, skating over the back-breaking work this was, the engine driver on the footplate. Then finally to driver, and by stages from being shunters and goods drivers to the drivers on passenger lines, and then, if they were lucky, to the more prestigious passenger services, possibly even to express trains. Engine cleaners cleaned the locomotive. Small boys, as engine divers, crawled into the cooled locomotive boiler with a wire brush to clean off the limescale and slime that had built up inside it. It was hard physical work, like cleaning a bus, but without the streamlined shape and with lots of intricate areas and items to polish. During the First World War, large numbers of women were recruited into the jobs vacated by the men who had joined up. Though there was initial resistance to hiring women for what was seen as men's work, the introduction of conscription in 1916 made the need for women workers urgent. Around this time, the government began coordinating the employment of women through campaigns and recruitment drives, as you see here. This led to women working in areas that were formerly reserved for men, as railway guards, ticket collectors, bus and tram conductors, postal workers, firefighters, and as engine cleaners on the railways.
And I was researching someone called Ida Round, who of the ones I looked at was the only one who seemed to be single when she was recorded by the LNWR as an engine shed cleaner. She's a local girl, born in Warwick. By 14, she'd left home and gone to be a servant in Wills Road in Leamington to two ladies of independent means. But in 1928, she married someone called Edward Baker, who was a gardener, and he was a widower. Now, when you look at her 1939 register entry, her occupation is tea and coffee house manageress, and it's Milverton Road. So then looking back at her husband's history, you find that from 1912, he is listed either in Spennels or on a census as being at a coffee house at 39 Milverton Road. So I'm thinking coffee house, Milverton Road, thinking of Milverton Road by the shops and the crossroads to Trinity School and the church. I'm just thinking, well, why would there be one there? And Jackie said, well, there was a church there. And because the coffee houses were the temperance alternative to pubs, that's very possible. So last week we had a good look around the maps of the area and couldn't actually pinpoint number 39 Rugby Road, but we found a couple of properties quite near to it. So this was really bugging me. So I thought I've got to try and find out a little bit more. So having exhausted Ancestry, I'm also on the British Newspaper Archives, and I found 2 entries in 1912 for a coffee house opening in Milverton Road, in Rugby Road, Milverton. And yes, it was linked to St Mark's Church.
This is a digitised image of the London Northwestern Railway Gazette for 1917. This started in 1912 as a sports-based newsletter, but progressed into a staff magazine with all kinds of articles in it. It's particularly interesting in the years of the First World War, as it includes a monthly roll of honour, not just of those staff members who had joined up and been killed, but also of those who were missing, wounded, or prisoners of war. Access to the digitised volumes is free to members. The Society has a very large number of drawings and plans of stations and of rolling stock. Most of them have now been digitised and can be obtained as PDFs for a fee via the website. Those not yet digitised can be viewed at the Study Centre. Similarly, a very large number of photographs have been scanned and are available for purchase from the Society. The Society welcomes volunteers of all kinds, either at its study centre or as remote workers. Whatever your skills, age or experience, we need you. You can contact us by emailing Mike Musson on projects@lnwrs.org.uk. If you'd like to join the Society, you can do it online or by post. The membership section of the website, that's www.lnwrs.org.uk, will tell you how to do it and about the benefits of membership.